Good morning. Today we're just going to have a look at an excerpt from the latest OEA iManage seminar series in 2019. First up, we're looking at iManage Work 10 and how Work 10 is helping us to work smarter. In particular, we're going to look at things like user freedom, business agility, and collaboration. So let's take a look at iManage Work 10. User freedom, business agility and collaboration, they all need to be considered within the context of security. They need to be considered within the context of what devices and where the users are accessing the system from, and they need to be considered in the context of how much data that we're dealing with. And you can imagine that finding a balance between these things can be kind of difficult. So, as an IT department, you want to ensure that you're meeting all of your privacy requirements and your privacy strategy. We also want to make it as easy as possible for your end users to access the system. And those two things can be conflicting at times. So user freedom is all about making the DMS as transparent as possible to your end users, to making it just part of their day-to-day work, not something that's going to restrict them or inhibit them from getting their work done. Business agility is all about enabling your IT departments to get those innovations and those new features, those new versions out to your staff. So it's important that, of course the end user experience is paramount, but we need to enable your IT teams to be able to actually get that software out quickly and easily without disrupting your IT or challenging your security protocols or anything like that. And lastly is collaboration. So it's become imperative now that we're able to collaborate with people, not only internally with our own businesses, but also with external parties. And we need to do that in a very secure manner that we can all feel safe while we're doing that. So user freedom, how are we going to do that? And the way that I'm going to explain user freedom is by doing a demonstration of a lot of the iManage Work 10 software and new features that are available today. So before I get started, is there anyone here who hasn't seen iManage Work 10 at all? You guys? Okay. If you don't, for everyone else, I'm going to do a few minutes version of what does Work 10 look like. Assuming you guys are already an iManage customer, you're probably using FileSite or desktop or something like that at the moment. Yep. So iManage Work 10, it's a fully web-enabled application. We've still got all of the concepts around document and email storage. We've got metadata, document searching, workspaces and folders, but we're just presenting it to the end users in a different way. So the approach is, what am I working on now? So when the users come into the system, they've got a bunch of recent lists. So I've got my recent documents list here. And you can see I've got stuff that I've been working on. The recent documents list is made up of different activities. So I can filter the documents here by things like, is it documents I've copied or downloaded recently, or edited, or created new versions. So I can start shaping the view of my recent documents list to drill down to see the content that I want to see very quickly and easily without worrying about heavy end user training or complicated tasks. I can also do things like filter by document type, date, or perhaps even the author or the particular client that I'm working on at the moment. Same thing goes for my recent emails list. So emails that have recently been filed by me or been filed in the system. And we now have this concept of recent clients or recent matters. And these recent lists are generated by looking at your documents that you've been working on. So what documents have you been working on? Where have you been filing emails? And so now my recent matters list or my recent workspaces list is going to include the stuff that I've been working on recently. So we can still get access to things like My Matters. So I've got a My Matters list there. But my recent matters list should really always give me where I want to save documents or where I want to open documents from at any given point in time. And you can see here I can start browsing through my workspaces. The folders are still available. A couple of neat features like yellow folders mean the documents are in there. White folders means there's no documents available, so I don't bother drilling down into them. And once I drill down into my folders, I can very easily see the documents are available. I've got bylines with metadata. I've also got all my properties here down the right hand side. All this stuff available without going into separate windows or different screens. And from here I can also start actually editing and changing these properties in line again without opening documents. I can see versions quickly and information about each of the versions, and I can do a quick preview. So this smart preview is available from any device when you're browsing through the web. And one of the features here is that it actually only renders the documents as you browse through as you browse through the pages. So you're not having to wait for like a 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 meg document download to your desktop before you can start seeing the content. You get a similar look and feel and a similar functionality out of your Office applications now. So on the iManage tab here in Word, I can do an open. I'm going to get that same sort of look and feel, that web view, my recent matters list, stuff like that. So I can very quickly navigate and find the documents I want to work on. Any other questions about just the basics of Work 10 before I move on? Okay. So I want to show you some of the new stuff, the stuff that's coming out in either in the current release of Work 10, which is 10.2.2 on the server, and some stuff that's coming in the future. So in this quick search bar, a couple of new things here you might notice is that when I search for something like Acme Management, by default it's going to search just the title. And so I can hit that, it's going to go and find the word Acme or management somewhere in the title of my documents. Or I can search for a keyword, so I can look for those words anywhere inside the content of the document. So what's new here is that I can actually change the default. So previously the default was just searching the title. Now I can actually change my default to be search the entire contents of the document, if that's what makes sense to the user. Again, trying to give the user as much freedom to make the system work the way that they want to work. So I can run a search, giving you back all of the documents that are available with those terms. You also know we've got a little bit of more intuitive hit highlighting in the documents. So each of the words is highlighted with a different colour. So it's easier for us to find where and why that document's relevant to the terms that I've searched for. We can also start doing more specific searching from this quick search toolbar. So I can do exact phrase searching. So by using the quotes in the toolbar, I can further restrict my search results back down to just the words Acme Space Management in that order. And that was previously only available in the advanced toolbar, the advanced search bar itself. Instead of just doing a simple search using the toolbar, here I can start building searches out and using some of that rich metadata that we've got available to documents in the iManage system. So you can see here I can search by not only keywords but also the client code, the document class or document type, and perhaps I want to also search by the author. So I can start running some searches here. Anything to do with the ABC company with the class of doc. Getting my search results back there. Now a new feature here is that this is sticky as well. So if I drop out of the advanced search, if I go back in, all of the metadata fields that I've started choosing are going to be sticky. So again, it makes it much easier for the user to keep working the way they want to work when they're using the system. Bulk operations is also an important part of the system now. So once I've done my searches, I can do things like select a number of different documents, and here I can do things like a bulk download and download to zip. I can get links to multiple documents at a time, and something that we've never been able to do from search results before here is actually move documents on bulk from a search results pane to a folder. So it's a whole new feature that we have access to only in Work 10. And of course we can do things like bulk trash documents, which previously we could only delete one document at a time. Now anyone that's been on Work 10 already for a while would have noticed that underneath the profile user menu we've got a couple of features here, including things like coming soon. Now coming soon is a way of helping you guys to manage the change in your organisation. So we've got new features coming out with iManage Work 10. How do we make sure we're not ruining the user's experience? We give them a bit of a preview of what's coming up in the next version. So here we've got this coming soon, we've got this grid view enabled, and this is a really great new feature which is getting a lot of traction with our users. So you can see normally we've just got the documents available, we can filter or order by various different dates, and the metadata available is fixed by the administrator here. But what we can do with the grid view, I can just quickly switch to grid view, and that goes back to a more file site-esque opportunity where we can actually select different columns which are available per document. And again, that's going to be sticky on a user per user basis. And it means that we can start ordering the documents by the various different metadata fields that interest us. It also means that we have a lazy refresh when we browse through the folder list, so we're not having to paginate through hundreds of different pages of documents at a time. So that feature can be turned on and off pretty quickly. We're finding that customers where this has been enabled, the end users are loving the grid view. We've got this other thing called experiments. So this is stuff that's not ready for production yet, but you can start testing it out with your users. In this case, we've got a tree view available. So this is something that the iManage Work 10 interface was a departure from the standard file site and desk site, browse through your trees and workspaces and folders. But the feedback that iManage has been getting from customers is that's a massive change management risk for them. Okay, so the users are going from sometimes 15 plus years of file site to a web app, and they're really struggling with that. So in order to manage that change, soon to be released version of iManage Work 10, the tree view is being reintroduced. So you can see by enabling the tree view, all of my recent lists are now moved to the left hand side. Gives me a little bit more screen real estate here, and I'm able to start browsing through my recent matters. Browsing through folders, clicking on a folder, you can see I've got the documents in the folders. I can do drag and drop, and it's a much lighter weight version of the folder tree. Okay, you don't have software installed on your desktop, you don't have clunky back and forth transactions with the server. It's all web-based, lightweight. It's going to give a much better experience for the end user. Okay, so this is quite important to a lot of our customers for that transition period. And then when you're ready, you just can start turning that off and using the system just with the web view if that's what they want to do. Okay.
There's still no fixed release date on this actually. We've been talking about it for a while.
Well, the good news is this is real. This is not smoke and mirrors. This is actual software. And you can see, I'll show you guys, this version is 10.2.5. The next web release is going to be 10.2.3, so we're probably still 3 months to 6 months off on that one, to be honest with you.
We've been hearing rumours about early in the new year, a couple of months back, but now it's looking kind of end of Q1, Q2 sort of thing is seeming a bit more realistic. And just well, Jeff was in there with the coming soon and the future releases. So there's stuff that's in coming soon there. It's actually fully baked released software. They just trickle it out to end users in the coming soon area, so that users don't just come in one day and go, well, all of a sudden I've got a grid view, so they can start to pick things up themselves and play with it rather than just being force-fed new features all the time. Whereas the experiment stuff is stuff that is actually not yet released, so that's stuff that is coming down the track. So maybe a little more buggy, or maybe a little buggy.
Yeah. And you can turn that on and off to be available for different use. So you guys would be familiar with file site, which ends up with a tree sitting inside down the left-hand side of your window in Outlook, and allows you to drag and drop emails from your desktop, from your inbox into iManage. And what iManage has been able to do is, using that same lightweight web tree view from the Work 10 interface, and present that within the iManage Work panel as well. So the Work panel is just a task pane within Outlook. It presents the same HTML5 view that's available through Work Web. But what we can do here is we can use this browse option to enable the different view so the users can work the way that they want and browse through workspaces and the folders within Outlook. And so from here you can do things like drag and drop emails directly out of your inbox into the folder tree, And the same can be done when you're composing email messages. You can drag and drop attachments into messages as well. So incremental change management approach, tree view available wherever the end user wants to use it. While we're in here, when I'm composing new email messages, actually I might just reply to Matt here. You guys will be familiar with the send and file feature. So traditionally the send and file feature only allows the email to be filed with the subject as the description of the item that gets filed into iManage Work. So what's been enabled in iManage Work Desktop 10.2.4 is the ability here for the end user to actually rename the description of the email as they're filing it. And it seems small, but it's a massive efficiency gain for end users. So instead of going back to iManage after they've filed emails and renaming them to make them more relevant for searching and finding in future, they can actually do it on the fly as they're sending and filing emails. So this requires...
Sorry, that won't affect the actual subject of the email itself.
Correct, it's just the filed email description you can see there. So it's the equivalent of going back to iManage after the fact and changing the description. Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yep. Okay, a few other interesting incremental features. If I jump into work again, I'm going to go to my recent documents list. Grab my document, double click, it's going to check it out and open it in Microsoft Word. So we'd all be fairly familiar with the iManage toolbar for Work 10 at the moment. A couple of new features here is that we're now able to actually copy the HTTP link directly from Word. This was a bit of an annoyance previously, so if I want to grab this link and then paste it into my Teams chat with Andy, I can do it directly from the Word application. Another very handy thing here is in my footer. Previously I could only insert the iManage footer, which was statically set by the administrator. But what I can do now here as an end user, I can take any of the fields which have been enabled in iManage Work and add them as dynamic fields into my footer. So here I'm going to choose the doc number, I can choose the author, and perhaps the client that it's related to. And now I've got these dynamic fields which are going to sit in my footer, and they're going to update automatically when I change the document properties as well. So just a bit of a tidbit on where iManage Work is going. One of the bigger features that's in the pipeline at the moment is more bulk operations for power users. Okay, so the iManage Work interface, as it is today, it's simple, it's uncluttered. Now we're starting to add a few things like the tree view starts cluttering up the interface a little bit more. So they're going to make some of these things like bulk operations become a panel that pops out. So it's not something that interrupts your day-to-day work, but when power users want to do things like bulk export, bulk edit of security, it'll pop out a screen and they can start doing those bulk operations as an option. So that's something that's coming down the track. So thanks for taking the time today to see a little bit of how iManage Work 10 is allowing us to work smarter and give our users more freedom. I'm going to follow up today's session with a few more recordings of some demonstrations from the seminar series, including things like iManage Drive and the iManage Work app for iPad. Thanks very much.